Hey everybody, I'm Katallina, and today we're talking about episode 12 of Mission Yozakura Family. I'm a self-admitted shopaholic, but if I saw the crazy things that Taiyo saw at that mall in today's episode, I don't know whether I would ever want to go to a mall again. Now, to be fair, we don't actually go to malls a lot anymore in modern society because we have stuff like Amazon, and a lot of the things, at least for me, that I used to go to the mall to get, now get purchased online and actually aren't sold in stores anymore. Music, movies, games, books, all that kind of thing just sort of disappeared from the way that we do stuff now, especially since most of it has been digitized. But let's talk about some of the crazy things we see at that mall, because that was pretty darn interesting, and this episode did a really fantastic job in both of its parts of doing some really fascinating world building and giving us an even better glimpse into what life is like for people who actually are tapped into the spy aspect of this story world. We saw Mutsumi actually putting quarters in, and at first it felt like she was playing with some kind of gacha machine or some kind of like gumball machine from the West. But no, actually she was getting grenades out of the machine, and that was freaking hilarious, and Taiyo's expression was absolutely superb. They really nailed his reactions to all the crazy things that were going on, whether it was that, whether it was the situation that happened at the end of the episode, which was the climactic aspect of it, where he and Mutsumi take a little girl down into a lower level of the mall, which might as well have been like the morgue of a hospital or something, because holy crap, dude, it was a mess. Like, it was disaster zone. Like, there was really bad crap going on. Like, people were trading in eyeballs and lungs and shit, and it was like, yo, this is a mess. And of course, Taiyo being Taiyo, and Taiyo having that massive bounty on his head, there were people who tried to attack him. And when we went down there, we actually prevented a guy from having his eyeballs cut out. Like, holy crap, man. Like, it would be so wild to live in this world and to experience these things and all that sort of stuff. Because, like, this world on the surface seems very similar to our world, but this world has this underlying, like, girth of this crazy spy stuff happening, and it seems like regular people don't know about it. It's kind of the inversion of something like My Hero Academia, where 80% of the people have superpowers, whereas in this world it seems like most people are just normal, and then maybe 20%, 10%, 5%, I don't know, have powers and have connection to this underlying societal, like, systems that are set up for these spies, and their world and their perceptions are completely different. Now, we got some fantastic comedy in this mall section of the episode that I really liked. It was super funny seeing Kyoichiro basically being like, I'm only gonna pay for Mutsumi, and then Mutsumi just looks up at him for like 2 seconds and he's like, okay, man, give me the bill, because he just totally collapses. Or we see the situation with Shion and with Shinzo, where they are at a shop and Shinzo wants to buy a new gun and he can't decide between two. Oh my god, that is my life. Not the guns, but the indecision. And she is able to give him logical, statistical probabilities of which one he's ultimately going to want, because of course she's able to do that, because that is how her brain works. And it was just so funny seeing them paired together. The other really funny part that I saw in this section was actually when Taiyo finds the little girl who has gone missing from her dad and can't find him and is freaking out, and he shows her to Mutsumi. Mutsumi is like, is that your love child? And I almost choked on my drink, because one, that's absolutely ridiculous, and two, of course she would think something like that, because the entire world around her is 100% zany, and this is not the first time we've seen her make some kind of implication that she does not really care what Taiyo's sexuality is or how he behaves, which must seem so strange to him, because even in this episode, we see Taiyo talking about how important it is to him that he makes Mutsumi happy, that he cares about Mutsumi, and we actually get to see her reaction, because she overhears him talking about this, and her expression was just so cute. So yes, this mall aspect of the show was just absolutely wonderful world building, added some really fantastic depths. Oh, it was also really funny. We saw Futaba going and getting a massage, and we saw Nanao and I can't remember the other brother's name, but the cat brother going to the drugstore. It was just really cool. Oh, and Kyoichiro going to this secret bookstore and buying a book on tortures, and then of course at the end going to like help Taiyo and everything, and Taiyo noticing the book and thinking, he wants to use that on me, doesn't he? And it's like, oh, Taiyo. I mean, on one hand, the joke is obviously there. I'm sure there's a part of Kyoichiro that would love to do that, but I mean, he's not going to get away with it. We all know that. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, like, it was just really awesome seeing how all of these things interconnected, and it just adds more flavor to how these people are and what they're like, and I thought that was really great. But this was a split episode, and the first half was much more emotionally charged, in my opinion. The second half was more comedic. The first half did have some comedy, but it had a much more poignant tone to it and a much more poignant point that it was trying to get across. And that, of course, is with Grandpa Ban, my mistake. And I believe the grandma's name was Kikyo or I cannot pronounce it. It was something with a K, but anyway. Keiko maybe? Anyway, it was really cute seeing the two of them because, I mean, we didn't realize that Mutsumi and her family actually had living grandparents. I mean, her parents, as far as we know, are out of the picture and seem to have died relatively young. So the fact that they actually have a grandma and a grandpa who are alive and who are spies is quite interesting, and I wonder just how much of a role they actually played in raising these kids, because the grandpa talks about changing their diapers and stuff. So I mean, it's obviously that he was very deeply involved. It was also really interesting to actually see the situations that these two characters were in, because for whatever reason, the grandfather actually had to bust out of prison to come and see them when he wanted to come and see them. And at first I was like, oh crap, what did he do? Did he betray people? Did he this? Did he that? No, apparently the problem is that he's older, he gets chatty with the ladies, which is like, what the hell, given that his wife is still alive. That's just a me thing though. And he actually ends up like being at risk of giving up government secrets. So they keep him in prison, first off to gather intel to give to them, but also to ensure that he isn't risking giving out intel to actual spies in the field because he's locked up. And I mean, the fact that he hasn't actually committed a crime and that he is hypothetically allowed to come out for emergency purposes, but that he's stuck in there was absolutely wild. Especially considering the reality that his wife is still alive and is still doing her thing and everything. I mean, at first I figured he was old and these things were happening and they decided to put him in there out of convenience. But the reason he wanted to bust out of prison was even more adorable in my opinion, despite his handsy, and I think they were kind of playing off like an older version of like James Bond or something because he was so interested in the ladies and all that crap. But anyway, he wanted to get out of there because the day that he got out was actually supposed to be their anniversary and he wanted to see his wife. And in the end, it ended up being that Mutsumi realized this and brought the wife, and the wife is the one who actually puts cuffs on him and gets him to go back to prison, which is hilarious. But I mean, this yet again just shows how chaotic and how insane some of the relationship situations that these spy characters seem to get themselves into. And it shows the fact that Mutsumi and Taiyo's relationship, and the fact that Taiyo is a 100% regular guy who is stepping into this situation and who seems to have no clue about any of it, definitely have their work cut out for them and are definitely going to be facing some challenges going forward. But overall, I thought this was a pretty solid episode. I really like how we learned more about the Yozakura family, both in terms of its lineage through the grandparents, and just some more funny, quirky stuff about the major characters that we are with each week in the shopping section. I think it's really cool that they have certain episodes where things are much, much more serious and much more focused, and then they have episodes like this where things are more lighthearted and more silly and are more so to build on the world and the characters. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys thought of this episode, so feel free to drop a comment below and let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye!